Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video. Today I'm doing the stats show for December, going over the global stats we've got from Best Coast Pairings for December. Before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of the stats. Do you like what you see? Do you hate? And just, let me know below. And if you want, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But today I'm going over the stats for December. After a very big month in terms of updates. Ignore the playing cards. I can't turn on the camera at the moment anyway. Yeah, you know these cards exist. But the important thing is, remember these stats, all thanks goes to Hot Sauce Teddy. Without him, none of this would be possible. So if you see him, please tell him your thanks and praise. And remember, all this data is from the Best Coast Pairings app. And if you haven't been using it, then we have results that TOs have sent us. And if you want, you can always just, contact me or Teddy and we can get those stats recorded if you don't use Best Coast Pairings. So that's kind of the downside, but pretty much everyone's using Best Coast Pairings. So we have pretty much reliable data. And the other thing, so we haven't seen Games Workshop post their newest stats with the new balanced data slate, but we count draws differently. So we're kind of copying what Age of Sigmar and the 40k people do, where instead of draws counting as a point, they count as 0.5. So it may mean our win rates are slightly lower than GW, but we won't know until they publish them. But let's get on with it. So for December, oddly, Void Dancer Troop are the best performing faction with a win rate of basically 64% for overall tournaments. Then you've got Wormblade with 56.9, which is nice. Then Legionary on 55, Navy Breaches on 55, and then Galapox on 52, Kazakin on 52, Intercession on 52 as well, Pathfinders on 51, Vet Guard on 50, Hunterclade on 48.5 with Blooded and Corsairs. Then on 45% we have Commandos and Novitiates, with the Lucidian Starstriders on 43%, Farstalkers on 41, with Warp Coven, Phobos on 40, and Hierotech on 33. Everyone else below is basically just all compendium teams. Now remember, this is before the balanced data slate was included because it literally came last week with the FAQs, so obviously won't be used. It's interesting. Now, when we look at GT Plus results, so GT Plus results are tournaments with 4 or more rounds with 16 or more players. So Pathfinders go from having like a 50% win rate to a 62.5. All right. Very good in tournaments with more players and more rounds. Elucidian Starstriders, oddly on 62.5% as well, but with like 1.69% representation. So not very high. Pathfinders 4.6, even Void Dancers 4.8. Navy Breaches with 6.7% at 62%. Very, very fine. Wormblade on 60%, but we're 2.1% of the usage. Void Dancer Troop on 58.9, and then you got Novitiates on 57, Kazakin on 56, Legionary on 53. Then you got Intercession down at 49%, which is basically 50. Hunterclade 49, Vet Guard 49, Galapox 49, Corsairs 47, and then below 45 we have Blooded and Commandos. Well, Blooded at 44, Commandos at 41 with Warp Coven, and Kroot at 37.5 with Phobos at 29.7 and Hierotech at 18%. And then below you have, compendiums. So you have got Talons at a 62.5% win rate with 0.8.4 representation. On the other side, you have Brood Coven. Very interesting. Like now we've separated what stat look overall. So overall is basically less than 4 rounds and also less than 16 players. So when you look at the bigger events, Pathfinders and Breaches are dominating. Like the worrying one is really Breaches because they have a 6.7% meta usage, which is very, very large. Like Legionary have a 10% usage, and then Intercession have 17%. But even Pathfinders, that it's kind of to be expected. But Breaches with a 6.7% on 62, not very good looking for the game. But that's how the win rates look for December. So this is what it looks like when we separate the stats from bars into numbers. So this is including all factions. So the interesting thing is we've had 1,892 games of bespoke teams with 298 of compendium teams. So what does it mean? So 86% of the meta are using bespoke teams and 14% are using compendium. Now remember when we first started doing the stats back in I think like January or February, it was about 40% compendium, 60% bespoke. So compendium are almost gone, but they're still being used, right? But that's a really large change. And this is just for December. So we've still got a really good usage of games, like altogether more than 2,000 games, really good, but just a nice representation of everything. And now you can more clearly see the wins, losses, and draws, as well as undefeateds, as well as the actual usage. So you can see Brood Coven do have an impressive 66.7% win rate from 3 games. Yep. Talons of the Emperor, 37 games. Now, we'll look at Void Dancer Troop. So basically 100 and above, or close to 100 is good in terms of reliability. So 100 games, 64% win rate. Wormblade, 65. It's still decent, but not huge. And then Galapox has actually gone down a bit. Then Kazakin is only 38 games. Pathfinder's close to 192. Vetguard and Hunterclade above 100. And then if you look at Intercession, they have 314 games, with Legionary now dropping behind them to 215. So Marine's still very, very popular. Now here's the monthly win rate trends. So I love Hot Sauce Teddy for this, but the thicker the line, the more popular the faction is. So what we're looking for is something that's extra thick. But yes. So as you can see, Legionary, like this is charting from January all the way to December. So Legionary going up and down, and then from May just got thicker and thicker. It's gone down a bit. Now the interesting one is Intercession. So I don't know how they appeared here. I think we were counting them as Marines. But look, came in July, had this huge peak in terms of win rate, and then just have continued to get thicker and thicker. Those thick Marines. Down here, we've got Crew, who've actually gone up to 40%. Down here, we have Hyrotech. Technically, according to November, it should be down here. But 33% isn't bad. And I'll try and find Phobos in this. Where are the Phobos? There we go. Phobos Strike Team. They get lost. They actually got quite popular at one point and have just dropped since then. They're now at 40%. And then we have Elucidity and Star Striders. But from thickness, Intercession win, then Legionary. Oddly, Hunterclade got quite popular. They've gone down a bit in the last month. But overall, this is just bespoke teams. Yeah, if I put compendium teams, it looks horrible. You can't tell what's going on, right? But hopefully this makes some sense in terms of popularity and win rate. So looking at the win rate via popularity, it's a little bit off, but it's gone a little weird. But basically, green, good, 45 to 55%. For 40, well, 44 and 40, not good, probably needs a buff. Below 40, danger zone. 55 and 60 is warnings, and above 60 is danger zone. So needs nerf, definitely needs nerf. So Void Dancer Troop, Intercession, Legionary. Intercession leading the way in popularity. Phobos, just below acceptable. You know, all these teams have basically been buffed. There's Hyrotech supporting everyone. And, you know, it looks okay from what we can see there. So this is just showing the global meta. So as you can see, we've actually, in terms of size of the meta, in terms of numbers of entries, players peaked a bit in September and have slightly gone down a little. December is one of the smaller months so far after the rises we've had in terms of events, but that's expected because we've got no events this week, and we only had one event last week because it's Christmas and New Year's, all right? But we've had in December alone 8 GT plus results, so events with 16 or more players and 4 more rounds, and 36 other events. So player size has gone down tiny increments, but actually maintained quite well for December. I thought it would drop a bit more. But since September, the game has been rocking it. Like 56 events, then 57 in October, and 59 in November. And, you know, we've just got... It's really good to see the growth of the game. Like, it peaked early in February, then went down a bit, and then slowly went up. But now, since September, basically the start of Into the Dark, the game's in a really good spot. We're getting on average at least 2,000 games a month. It's really good to see. And this world map, as you can see, most of the events are coming from Spain. Then America. America is really catching up. Then we've got some in Russia, the Philippines, 9 in Australia, a lot in London, and, you know, Europe and stuff. And you've got 5 in Canada as well. Also 17 in South America and 4 in Mexico, which is nice. 1 in South Africa. So it's a good selection of games for the meta. So overall for the stats, we've had another, well, it's a weird month, right? So we've already had the balanced data slate. So we've already had the changes go through. The weird thing is, like, so people are going to look, oh, Void Dancer are broken. They're actually very playable. They're still solid. Their usage has gone down. And I think the thing is, now they're learning more matchups, they're starting to do better, but they're still quite balanced overall, I would say, although the win rate clearly disagrees with me. The game gets more interesting when you look at GT Plus results, because outside the GT Plus results, the game looks fine, but when you factor in GT Plus results, Pathfinders, so Star Striders is probably being carried by Ace from his one run at Warhammer World. That would have helped a lot, but even then, they've got like 60-ish players, so it wouldn't have just been Ace, because that would have been 4 games, right? It's just really odd. So maybe Wormblade do need a hit, but I think if you touch them in any way, they would drop, right? But when you look at GT Plus results, Wormblade Void Dancer Troop go from 64 to 58, well, 59. So they're still doing really well. But the worrying thing, as I said, is Breachers at 62% before they get buffed by the Critical Ops pack with no nerfs. So very worrying to see. Like, it's really strange looking at the GT Plus results. We have several kill teams above 55%, right? Kazakin, not enough players to be reliable. And I think they're just living off Marines. Like, the more intercession there are, the more they love. But they're going to get hurt a bit as well, because they relied picking 2 faction tac ops, right? And jamming it with security. Now they can't do that in terms of, well, they can only pick 1 faction tac op. But so if we go from that, we go Pathfinders, they've lost an operative. Star Striders have been buffed, so that's going to be fun. Navy Breachers have technically been buffed because they got nothing, no nerfs. Wormblade are unchanged. Void Dancer Troop have been nerfed. Novitiates have already been nerfed. And then it's Hunterclade averaging out about 50, and they've been nerfed, so they might drop down a bit. Galapox have leveled out to 50 as well. But I think that's quite due to the Warhammer World event, where there were, like, I think 6 or 7 Galapox and players infected, and they went all about 2-2, 3-1. No, I think it was mostly 2-2s. So that hurt them a lot, that event, just because of how the terrain was in terms of lack of doors for them to easily walk through. I think the meta is still fine. Like, the last snapshot, right, of the last quarter 3 meta. Interesting. Very interesting. Like, I maybe GW are looking at the stats and go, you know what, maybe we should have done something to Breachers, and maybe we overdid Star Striders a little bit, but we'll see, right? There's only 1 month. The Star Strider thing I'm not too worried about because it's just a 1 month peak, but Breachers have been doing it more. Overall, though, the game seems balanced, you know, nice. Everything looks okay. I mean, the underperforming teams are just underperforming. Poor Phobos and Hierotech. Kroot, though. Can't wait to see what happens with Kroot. We're going to go into a really exciting meta now. So January, there's a lot of new events coming. So we've got LVO in January. I think there's another large Spanish event, big London event and Manchester event. Like, there's events happening everywhere in January. Then in February, we've got another Warhammer World Tournament and the Kill Team Open in America. But at the start of the year, we're going to have so many events. Hopefully a new box set by February. So the meta is going to be very interesting to watch. I can't wait to see how the January stats evolve. But that's pretty much it. Remember, praise be to Hot Sauce Teddy. Without him, none of this would be possible. But please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of the stats. Do you like how things are shaping up? Do you agree or disagree with my analysis? let me know. And if you want, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. So for my Adepts of the Craft, Samari, Sam, Robin, Ninja Lee 83, Kenzie, John Thomas, Eric, Captain Murder, Dave, Daniel, Average Joe 27, Arthur, and Adzik. And then for my Veterans of the Craft, Samja. So thank you so much. Your support really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. And I'll also have an article version of this down in the episode description below. If you want images instead of screen cap and everything, it's up to you. But yeah, interesting meta. Interesting. I actually, going forward, think the game is going to be really balanced outside of probably Breachers and maybe Star Striders. But I'm really excited to play the new meta. I can't wait for that to get going. Gonna actually play some games today, then tomorrow. Like I'm going back to back with games. And I think I have to buy the Kill Team playing cards. It's £12 for playing cards, right? But they're Kill Team themed. I can use them for something. Maybe I should buy them. What do you think? Anyway, this has been the December stats. We're almost coming to a year of stats. I've hoped you enjoyed this journey on our refinements. If you have any improvements, let us know below. Like, Teddy will be happy to implement them. But that's pretty much it, you know? I think this will be my last video of the year. It will be my last video of the year. So if you've been watching, I'll probably do a yearly review as an article or something. But thank you for watching throughout this as our stats and channel evolves. So until next time, remember, no matter what the stats say, you can always win as long as you can roll a crit.